Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Farrell with Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado. As you can see on the screen, I'm here with Neil Donald Walsh, our special guest today. And Neil, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's lovely to be here with you.
All right, and I'll give Neil a proper introduction here in just a moment. As we get started, this is a live program, so I want to just shout out to all of our Humanities Team friends, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God friends, the Sign Network, John Raymer's friends, people just out on Facebook that are seeing this live program and saying, wow, this is pretty cool. So thank you for being here with us. This is going to be a very exciting program. We're going to cover a lot of really important ground today. I invite you to put your questions and comments right there in chat on social media. Here in our studio, I've got a display where I can see the comments and the questions coming in, and Neil and I will get to as many as we can during the hour. The sooner that you put your question or comment in the window, the more likely that we'll get to them. Also, I just want to share to the Humanities Stream Plus people that are here in the green room with us, if you want to come on camera with Neil, just put your hand up and we'll bring you on camera and we can see you as you're bringing your question forward. Our theme here today is changing humanity's future, and it's not just three words here. This is, if you watched our program a few weeks ago, this is actually a new initiative. It's an initiative of Humanities Team and the Conversations with God Foundation. It's called Changing Humanity's Future, and wow, there's a lot in store. We're going to just unfold this a bit more than we did even a few weeks ago. We're going to talk about what this campaign is, what its purpose is. And elevating conscious living is a very key component. So now, as we get started, let me give Neil a proper introduction here. Neil Donald Walsh is the author of the Conversations with God book series and a modern-day spiritual messenger. Neil is a longtime and dear friend of mine and Humanities Team, and of course has been here with us since day one. He's a very important co-founder of Humanities Team. His books and teachings have served to help millions of people develop a modern-day sense of God and to build connection between themselves and the divine, and I might add, and all of life on the planet. Neil is joining me today for an in-depth discussion of this initiative, Changing Humanity's Future, Conscious Living, including what it means, why it matters, and how we create a future where this is widely embraced by all of humankind. So, welcome again, Neil. Really excited to be here with you for this program.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'm happy to be here with you as well. This is a very important occasion. This initiative is very dear and close to my heart, and I hope that all of you who have found any benefit in the Conversations with God material will listen carefully to see how you can join us in this next great undertaking.
Yes. So, Neil, let me actually go right into it. We've had so many conversations over these last 6 months or so about the initiative, and of course the 9 Conversations with God books and your other books, very other important books, share that they were never intended to be just some hot read, where we read the book on our chaise lounge and then put it down and then move on to some other book without thinking about it. The books share, they were intended to actually catalyze or to synergize a whole new way of living on the earth. So we're going to actually get to, as you know, we'll be pulling quotes from the material that speak very directly to this, but just maybe talking about this at a high level as we get started. Just your thoughts, please.
Well, you know, Steve, it has been impressed on me that the wonderful messages of Conversations with God were, as you just said, never meant for me alone. I didn't really understand that fully until I saw the impact that these messages were having on other people. And no one could have, I couldn't even have imagined actually that even a book would be published. I sent it to a publisher, these notes that I had, I sent them to a publisher on a dare. I was actually daring God because God said to me, you will make of this one day a book. And I thought, yeah, of course. Who's going to publish my middle of the night mental meanderings? So, but a small publisher on the East Coast of the United States did publish it, and much to my shock and surprise, it wound up reaching many, many people, actually millions of people, not bragging, just saying, around the world. So yes, you're right. What I've discovered, based on the response I've gotten from people all over the planet, is that these messages were intended not just to be seen and absorbed, but in fact to be acted on. And what God is doing here is inviting humanity to step into its future in a new and exciting, in a dramatic and active way. That is, Steve, I asked God, what is it that you're up to? What is your greatest desire? What do you want us to do? And God said to me, Neil, I don't want you to do anything. That is, I do not have a desire. There's no such thing as God's will in the sense of an agenda that I have for you. But there is such a thing as God's desire. And my desire is that you will have the ability and the opportunity, and I would invest in all of you the power to create your own reality, to produce the outcomes in your individual lives and in your collective experience that you would love to encounter as you move through your life. So what God is inviting us to do in these dialogues is to take note of how all of that works and then to make a commitment to ourselves. You know what? I'm going to play a role. I'm going to play an important part in producing the outcomes that humanity is going to experience in the years just ahead. Not just for me, but for my children and my grandchildren and those who will follow me. I have an opportunity here to play a really important role, and I intend to do that. So that's really what I've come to be aware of with regard to the Conversations with God material. As you just said, it was not simply intended to be an interaction, a spiritual encounter with one human being, but with the whole of humanity, and to give us all an opportunity to change our reality here on earth.
Yeah, boy, beautiful. Beautiful, Neil. So let me read something from Tomorrow's God. And of course, this is where there's quite a bit of discussion of humanity's team and the role that we play as well. But in Tomorrow's God, and boy, this really got me moving. I can remember back 10 years or so ago when the book came out and reading this and just thinking, wow, that dream is my dream. So just a few little quotes from it. It says, I can assure you, and then now in caps, all of you will awaken, in all caps, period. This is part of the process of evolution, the process of rejoining the inseparable, knowing again the separation never occurred. Each of you will awaken because no part of God can be deserted by God. And then it says the day of atonement, that is @-1, all in caps, -ment, is near at hand. Wow.
Yes, that's a really powerful message. The Day of Atonement, in other words, @1-ment, is at hand. And if we ever wondered about that, all we have to do is look at what's going on in the world right now. In my memory, as an adult human being, I can't recall a time when our @1-ment, our singularity, was more important or more evident to us. Because the same things, many of the same things, are happening now to us and being experienced by us in a way collectively that couldn't have been possible even a few decades or even a few years ago. The internet alone has made much of that possible. Right now, as an example, this is a good example. What we're experiencing right now, all of us being here together in this way, would not have been possible just a few short years ago. So when I see what's going on, I see, the circumstances are perfectly created for us to experience our @1-ment, our singularity. And there's a reason for that. There's a purpose for us experiencing that. Not just because it's a nice thing to do. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be sweet for us all to realize that we're all connected? But in fact, for us to move the whole collective that we call humanity to the next level in our evolutionary process. It's time for us to lift ourselves out of some of our group cannibalistic behaviors, and we're seeing those all over the world, even on this day, and to extend our understanding of what it means to be sentient beings in the universe and to expand our awareness of that and to recreate ourselves as a civilization. That's what we're up to here, recreating ourselves as a civilization so that the world that we do leave for our children and our grandchildren is much more wonderful than we could ever have imagined in this day and time. That's our opportunity. And that's what I hope you'll be listening to carefully here today, because the time of at-one-ment is at hand.
Yeah, and this isn't a little thing. This is a big, big, big thing. There's, again, a whole initiative taking place. These two organizations, the Conversations with God Foundation is a board meeting coming up, and then Humanities Team. Of course, Neil is intimately involved with both organizations. And we're just studying this whole blueprint for how a major initiative can move forward that brings these messages that we're talking about here now and many more out into the world. One of the things that precipitated this when we go months back is Neil and I were sharing that there are conversations taking place all over the world on front porches and back porches and couches and bedrooms and boardrooms, etc. That kind of go like this, where people will just start talking kind of randomly around the room about, oh my, things are pretty bad here. Geez, we had social injustice, and then we had climate change, and then COVID, and now Ukraine, and just a lot of sort of gnashing of teeth and shaking of heads, and where
tissing.
Yeah, where people say,
people
what
are
can be done?
tisking. I call that. They go, what can we do? That we can do. And a lot of people are saying, well, I guess there's nothing we can do. What can we do? This is life as it is. But there's a great deal that we can do, and that is the message that I've come here to share with you today, and that is the message that Conversations with God has brought us. There's a great deal we can do. Life does not have to be a continuation of this incredible process that we've seen playing itself out in these most recent days and times.
Absolutely.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming in. This is it. This is really all about an invitation. Just as Neil is sharing here, this is an invitation for all of us to play really big. And you've maybe seen Neil out on social media with where he talks about this changing humanity's future and inviting everybody to come in and play big. So there's so much more to come here. Regarding this initiative, where and don't think for a minute as you're watching, oh, this means, Neil is going to be out doing 1,000 things and Steve doing 1,000 things and you're on your couch watching. No, absolutely not. The changing humanity's future, the only way this happens is you, the viewer, who found yourself here at just the right time to be watching this program right now, is deciding, I'm in, I'll be part of this, I'm going to help change humanity's future. And we're going to get to a lot of specific invitations here during this program. Let me share, I'm going to go now to one of the last Conversations with God, the 9th Conversations with God in this series. It's Conversations with God, Book 4, Awaken the Species. And it says that this is the perfect time for advancement. In fact, it says the conditions presenting themselves in such an unavoidably visible, dramatically obvious way make this the perfect time for advancement. What do you say about that, Neil?
I say that it's true. It's exactly what I just said a minute ago. All of the events that have taken place, particularly in the past 24 months, having in fact created the perfect climate, the perfect environment, the perfect set of circumstances, allowing us to see not only what's been going on in a very clear way and the changes that are begging to be made, but all that we can do in order to make the changes that could produce a better life for all of us. So yes, this is a perfect environment. I agree. What I have to say about that is, I hope you listen to what was just quoted from the book, Conversations with God, Book 4. This is the time. Or as many people have said in the past, if not now, when? And if not you, who? If not now, when? And if not you, who? So it's being left up to us. See, I want to just make one other small point. A lot of people ask me, if there really is a God, why doesn't God just come down and make everything better? Why are we being left to our own devices, so to speak? And the answer that I've received directly in my inspirational conversations with God is that God said, no, I did not. It was not my intention to create a species of minions, who just had to do whatever I say and follow my orders, and then you get to just be, like laborers in the field. No. God said, no. My intention was to give you the power to invest in you, to inject into each one of you the wisdom, the understanding, the clarity, and the power to create your own reality. That it's my great desire, this is God speaking, it's my great desire, she said, to see you creating your own reality in exactly the way you want to do it. But the first step is for us to become consciously aware that that opportunity has been placed before us by God itself, and that we have the opportunity to implement and to use that power profoundly in an effective way. So that's exactly right. If the events of the past 24 months have not shown us that this is an important and perfect time for us to leap forward in our evolutionary process, then I don't know what would. This is the time.
Yes, it is. And Neil, you've brought in this whole notion of making it personal. So let me go down a level here. I'm going to quote again from the Conversations with God book for Awaken the Species material. So it says, this is not just about saving the world. This is about your personal spiritual journey. It's about your individual evolution. It can be the most exciting, enthralling time you've experienced since your birth. And this is the most important matter facing the human race. If you truly want to take advantage of this being the perfect time for advancement within your species, allowing it to continue to exist in a wonderful and pleasant version of physicality, if you want your children and your children's children to have the same opportunity you have had, the opportunity to experience this wonderful physical planet, this special and beautiful environment, and this particular expression of life. And then another quote here, your species has actually come to this at exactly the perfect time and in the perfect way. Right now.
Yeah, the important point there is, because people often say to me, what can one person do? Really, Neil, I mean, be honest. What can one person do to try to change the world? And I hope that I'm assisting people in understanding this isn't just about changing the world. As a matter of fact, most importantly, it's about changing ourselves. This is a process of personal evolution. The agenda of the soul is for each of us to have the opportunity to announce, to declare, to express, and to fulfill, to demonstrate our grandest idea of who we individually really are. So let me ask you a question right now, those of you who are watching right now. Do you see yourself as an individuation of divinity? Do you see yourself as connected with God, as a part of God, a living expression of that which is divine? Because if you do, this is an opportunity that, I mean, not this moment, I mean this life. This whole life is an opportunity for you to demonstrate that, to experience that, to express it, to have that awareness flow through you, and to have you then model what it means to be an individuation of divinity. When we do that, we automatically produce an impact that does touch and, in fact, change the part of the world in which we move and have our being. And everyone who has made that kind of an impact, whether we're talking about people like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King or Indira Gandhi or any one of a number of people whose names we could roll out right now, those people who have really moved forward and changed humanity are people who have been paid the highest attention to their own individual evolutionary process. That is, they became a living, breathing demonstration of the highest thought they ever held about who they are. And through the demonstration of that, they sent a message to all those whose lives they touched, a message that in fact began to change the world.
Yes, it's true, and it can happen, and it is happening. right now. So, Neil, I'm going to bring in some more of the messages. First, some of these quotes, these next ones are from Awaken the Species, and then a couple more from Tomorrow's God. It says, the awakening of others will not happen by chance or as a nice but not specifically focused on result, but as an intended effect of the personal evolution of all those who self-select to accept the invitation that has been extended here. It's going to, and this is quite surprising and feels good. And then it says, it's going to be easier as you move forward. The biggest part of the mountain, the toughest climb, is behind you. I'm just going to stop there. This is from Conversations with God, Book 4, Awaken the Species.
We know that the toughest part is behind you, or you wouldn't be here right now. For those with whom the toughest part is still not behind them, they're probably not watching this program. And even if they are, they're probably not really gathering all the information that we have to share at the level that would allow them to apply it immediately right now in their life. But for you, the toughest part is behind you. You've had your own challenges, your own mountains to climb. You've gone through as much of that aspect of life as you have needed to go through. And now here you are, ready not to become enlightened, but to share the truth of life itself so that everyone else can lighten up about who they are. That's what true enlightenment is. And then become the light of the world. You know, does that sound spiritually arrogant? I don't want to sound spiritually arrogant here, but how would it feel to you if you just said, when you walk outside your house today, I am the light of the world. That is, the world that I touch will be lightened up and made more wonderful, more enjoyable, more joyful, and more blessed because I am walking through it. Can you see yourself as that? Is it possible to see yourself as the source of that? I'll never forget one of the earliest messages I received in the 3,000 pages of the Conversations with God dialogue. I was told by God, be the source. See, all that time in my life before then, I was being the seeker. I was seeking awareness, understanding, higher consciousness, grander truths, a broader clarity about what life is really all about. But then I had received all of that through my life. When I look back on it, I thought, I've been gathering all this information. And in fact, that's all now behind me, like it is for you. We've passed that place on the pathway. We're past that place. And now we have the opportunity to move forward in a brand new way, to no longer be a seeker, but to be the source of what it means to be who we truly are. Wouldn't it be interesting if you chose today, made a commitment on this very day, I am the source. In all those whose lives I touch, of the grander awareness and the higher place of consciousness that causes all of us to be able to express and to demonstrate who we really are, and in fact to change our lives and the lives of all those that we love. Oh my goodness, what an opportunity. If that doesn't excite you about life, if that doesn't make you more excited than, what do we have for dinner tonight? Or what are we going to watch on TV tomorrow? Or, this is what makes life really come alive and give it true meaning and true purpose. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy a lovely dinner tomorrow. It doesn't mean we can't enjoy something that's fun to watch on TV, but it means that the most important aspect of our life is what we are doing, thinking, and saying as we share and model for everyone whose life we touch the highest truth about life itself. Opportunity, to put it mildly.
Yeah, a wonderful invitation. Who wouldn't want to be the source? And that ultimately is what this is all about. Because, boy, we're not going to change humanity's future, just a few of us. It's all of us on a level playing field being the source. So thank you for that. Let me go a little deeper into the process that's described here. This is from Tomorrow's God. And actually, before I read these, let me just share, too. Pakwi out on Facebook has a question. Also, Grant has a question. So thank you. And Neil will get to those questions here in just a moment. We're going to go just a little deeper into the material, and we're going to come over and get to questions and comments. So this is from Tomorrow's God. It says, first you become aware of your little self. Now you are becoming aware of your big self. This is the next step for you and for all of humankind, part of which can be led through this evolutionary process through you and through everyone who sees this as a team effort, the most crucial and exciting undertaking of humanity's team. And then it says, if large numbers of people get together, create a team, and choose to experience conscious evolution, humanity can reach critical mass within a very short period, decades, not centuries, perhaps not even decades, but years. It's all up to you. It all depends on whether you even hear the call, for the soul of humanity calls out today, who will be on humanity's team?
Steve is quoting there from the dialogue itself. He's not reading a little speech that he wrote. I just want to make it real clear. He's lifting direct quotes from the Conversations with God dialogue that I've had. And these are ideas, understandings, messages, if I could put it that way, that I believe that God is sending to all of us. And God, in fact, is asking us, who will be on humanity's team? And if your answer is, I will, I'm there, great. Now we have, more than one of us or more than two or three of us, as somebody famous said a few years ago, wherever more than two are gathered, there's enormous power. So I thank you for being with us and today and listening to all of this and hearing all of this. But be aware that these messages you're hearing come right out of the dialogue, and they're invitations to us from the source of wisdom within all of us that I call God, inviting us to step forward now and to change humanity's future.
Which is what we can do and we are doing as we move forward, changing humanity's future. So this is a big initiative of humanity's team and the Conversations with God Foundation. If you go to either of our sites, humanitiesteam.org or cwg.org, here in the coming weeks and months, you'll learn a lot more about the initiative. So let me get to a few questions, then we're going to come back into this Conversations with God material and the initiative. We're also going to there's a masterclass that Neil created early this year with Michael Bernard Beckwith. It's called Discover Your Soul's Purpose. We're going to go look at a little video clip from that here shortly too. So lots more to get to in the next little more than 30 minutes. So Pakwe shares this question, Neil. He says, I hear these themes, we are all one. But how can we experience that?
For me, it's a process of stepping into my awareness of the experience of everyone around me. How I can experience it is by really looking deeply and observing closely the experience of all those around me on any topic, whatever's going on, whether it's something, relatively insignificant, a conversation I'm having with my wife across the kitchen in the morning, or something more important or more significant, a conversation that I'm having with all of you, for instance, right now, or with a total stranger on the street who might be in a little bit of trouble and is standing there with a sign that says anything will help. So it's about, for me, how we can experience oneness is by putting ourselves in the position of the other person with whom we are currently interacting or who we are observing, even from a distance. And that's not as difficult as it might seem, because no one who is out there in those other positions are finding themselves experiencing something we've never experienced. See, this is what's interesting. We may not have had the exact same experience, but we've had the same emotional content. There's not one of us who hasn't experienced frustration, upset, sadness, disappointment, what we call failure, difficult, challenging times, and wonderful times as well. And when we see a person experiencing those same kinds of times, that list goes on and on, we can relate to them. And that's how we experience oneness, by deliberately, intentionally, and purposefully choosing to relate to the experience of another by saying to ourselves, I've been there. I've done that. The catchphrase that young people today have been using the past few years, been there, done that. Well, you know what? If you are really awake and clear, and if it's really your purposeful intention to experience your oneness with another, you will find ways to relate to other people in almost every moment of their life. You could say to them on an emotional level, been there, done that. Let me give you just one real fast example. I spent a year on the sidewalk as a street person. Now you might say, well, Neil, I can't experience that. I mean, I can't say that I've experienced that. You've had an experience I never had. But the emotional content you have experienced. You and I have had the same emotional experience of feeling alone, unwanted, helpless. What am I going to do now? Oh my gosh, how did I get in this position? Is there anybody out there to help me? How am I going to move forward? We've all had those experiences, whether you had it on the sidewalk, as I did for a year, or in your living room. We've all had the same emotional content. And it's when people looked at me when I was out there on the sidewalk, and I put my hand out to people. I was living on the street for a year, as you probably know. And as I put my hand out to people and I said, anything would help. Anything would help. A quarter, a $50, anything that I can eat at the end of the day. And as I was out there were some people who looked at me and said, okay, buddy, I totally get it. I totally get where you are. And I've never been there in that particular way, but I understand it perfectly because I've had the same emotional experience here. And they might even hand me some paper money, which, by the way, I hope you'll do today. If you run into anybody who's out there on the sidewalk, never pass anybody in need without offering what you can offer. And by the way, when I say never pass anybody in need, it would be impossible to find someone who is not experiencing the need of something or another. Maybe they need confidence. Maybe they need love. Maybe they need awareness. Maybe they need hope. Maybe they need a new level of understanding. All of us are dependent and interactive with each other because we are all one. So allow yourself to experience that daily by relating to what you see another person experiencing. It's really quite easy.
Yes, it is. Boy, beautiful. And that's one for the refrigerator because you don't want to just let that invitation go. Hear it, say, wow, that was beautiful, let it go. That's a nice one to carry around with you every single day when you're out in the world with your neighbor, with the grocery store, driving down the street, wherever you might be. Beautiful, beautiful invitation there. So let me bring you one more question, and then I'm going to come back to some of the material in a video segment. Then we'll come back to more questions here. And ProShot and Harvey have questions here too. We'll be sure to get to those, ProShot and Harvey, before the program is over. I'm going to first go to Grant's question. He says, I know this is a sensitive topic, but I want to know where God has been during these horrific shootings. It's hard to think of oneness in these days.
Well, that's the question I answered earlier. With respect, my dear friend, we're all asking the question, why would God allow something like this? Where is God? Where has God been? Why doesn't God do something? Where has God been? And God is asking us the same question. God's asking me the same question. Where have you been? And I'm saying, no, you don't understand. You're the one with the power. And God says, no, you don't understand. You're the one with the power. Then I'm saying, no, God, where have you been? You're supposed to be making all of this better. And God says to me, no. Where have you been? You're supposed to be making all of this better. You see, here's the point. God is not playing the role of a genie in a bottle who comes out and somehow solves these issues or makes it impossible for it like that school shooting to ever happen. God is giving us the opportunity collectively to create our own reality, to do what it takes within our own civilization to make sure that those kinds of events never happen again. And are we willing to take that level of power, that level of personal responsibility, or are we going to sit here and say, where is God? And where's God been? Where God has been is looking over our shoulder, inviting us, and giving us the power, by the way, Not saying, good luck. I hope you can make it. That's not where God is. God is saying, I have given you the power, individually and collectively, to change your reality, both as an individual and as humanity. I've given you that power. Use the power. Don't think that I'm a genie in the bottle and I'm going to come down there and make everything better. My job is not to make everything better. My job is to make sure that you have all that you need and can use, all the power inside of you to make everything better. Because my greatest desire, God says, is for you to become the creator of your own reality. Then you are truly demonstrating divinity. So, my friend, the answer to your question is, where has God been? Inside of all of us, waiting for us to demonstrate his presence within us. And we can do that in 1,000 ways. There are a lot of things we could do as a civilization to at least curb, if not totally eliminate, but certainly lower the statistics of the number of things, such as the mass shooting at that school the other day, this terribly tragic event. But will we take whatever action is required as a civilization in order to bring an end to such events? That's the question before the house.
That is the question before us. Yes, it is. And boy, there are so many ways, and it's all about being empowered, as Neil shared. So where we turn it around as spiritual beings, and not to where has God been, and why didn't someone? It's coming right back to us. Who am I being here right now? How am I being empowered? What am I bringing out into the world? What expression? From my station in life, what am I being led to do? We're going to go down into more discussion from the material because it's very specific around things that we can do here during this hour-long program. So for people just coming in, Neil and I are talking about this major new initiative at the Conversations with God Foundation is just looking deeply at this. They're meeting in a couple of weeks. Humanities team has been with this. It's called Changing Humanity's Future. And how? By elevating conscious living as the thing. As you know, throughout the Conversations with God books and other New Thought material, we've got partners all over the world that are focusing on conscious living. It's all about embodying and expressing our divinity, being, where we understand there's no separation between God and ourselves, and for that matter, between ourselves and the other. There actually is no other. And the earth and the cosmos, that we truly are all one. As you know, this is the key message, that we are all one, and that God is pure love, that God is not vindictive and judging and punishing. God is not these things. And much more. Again, this initiative, there's so many things that we can get into. It's why we're just trying to kind of vertically come down to address key points.
Let me interrupt here,
please,
because this is so important, my friends. This is so important. You understand that beliefs create behaviors. If you're trying to make a connection between all that Steve's been saying the past few moments and the event, for instance, at the school in Texas a few days ago, if you're trying to say, okay, where's the connection? Where's the connection? This is all like highfalutin talk, but where's the connection? What Steve's talking about, what we're sharing with you here, is that it's beliefs that create behaviors. And our opportunity is to produce a change in the beliefs, the fundamental beliefs of humanity, about who we are in relationship to each other, about the purpose, in fact, and the function of life itself, and about who that aspect of life that we call God is. What is this really all about? Once we present to humanity a set of understandings, statements of clarity, and then model the behaviors in our every day-to-day life that demonstrate the truth of those beliefs. Once we do that, we move through the world collectively as a large group called Humanities Team that can begin to change the beliefs that produce the behaviors that we wish would not be repeated on this planet, such as those behaviors that occurred at that school in Texas a few days ago. What can stop that? a new idea of who we are and why we're here. An idea that is so universally embraced and collectively accepted that outcomes that we saw in Texas are utterly impossible. So let me share with you those beliefs real fast. One, we are all one. If we really thought we were a family, if we really thought that I am you and you are me, that we're not separate from each other, but that we are really simply, if I could put it this way, fingers on the hand of God. We're not all the same. The fingers on your hand are not all the same, but they're not separate from each other any more than we are all the same, but we're not separate from each other either. We are all part of the body of God. This is the huge belief. And if you understand who you are and why you came to this planet, behaviors such as we're seeing, not just in the school in Texas, but in Ukraine, in Palestine, other places of the world, in Ethiopia, elsewhere, where there's constant rage, constant violence, constant attack, constant separation, those kinds of behaviors would disappear almost automatically. Ask yourself this question. How come I'm not violent? We hope you're not. Let's pretend that you're not. Let's assume that you're not. How come I'm not violent, verbally and physically violent in my own family? Why don't I act violently in my own household, at my dinner table? Why don't I just smash the glasses all over the place and throw the silverware all over the table? Because I have a thought in my head. Wait a minute. We're all family. I wouldn't do that with these people who are here with me. We're all part of the same collective. We're all family. I will treat them with all the love and caring and compassion and respect that I would with any family member. What if we decided tomorrow that the whole human race is our family? Would that change our collective behaviors? Of course it would. Of course it would. But who will be the senders of that message and the demonstrators of its viability? That's what humanity is looking for. People who will say, I'm here. I will model that behavior. Watch me.
Watch me, and then let's do it. Let's each be that expression. And for people that are deeply considering this, that haven't gone yet to the belief of this, that there's no separation between God and ourselves, or God or anything. There is science out now. If you follow Nassim Haramein, who's the leader in unified physics, his Resonance Science Foundation, if you go to his website and follow his work, it's right there. It is right. He says everything from quantum scale objects, so these are atoms, protons, to cosmological objects, galaxies. Everything is actually a part of one thing. He'll use this term oneness over and over and over again. You'd think you were listening to Neil Donald Walsh, except that he's using science terms. He's talking.
Science is
physics.
catching up to spirituality, folks. Science is catching up to spirituality. And before long, we'll all look at ourselves, the old palm to the forehead. How could I not have seen this? Because now scientists are saying, of course it's true. There's nothing that's separate from anything else. We're all the same stuff.
He says we're sovereign to one body. It's exactly the same thing Neil is sharing. So this means we're talking about ultimate reality. Wow. And if we're talking about who wants to live a life that is not connected to ultimate reality, right? Who would want to live a life like that? We are talking about ultimate reality. Now, let's go down a little deeper. I mentioned earlier, Neil created a program with Michael Bernard Beckwith. It's all about creating from your soul's purpose. It's a new masterclass that was just created, and it talks about ourselves as spiritual beings. So let's go it's a 2-minute clip. Let's go take a quick look at this clip, and then Neil and I will come back and talk about it.
You can tell if you've already made an unconscious decision about whether you are a chemical creature or a spiritual entity by looking at why you do the things that you do in everyday life. What motivates your actions? What motivates your choices and your decisions? What are you trying to achieve by what you're doing? If you see yourself as a spiritual entity, I can promise you that what you find yourself seeking to accomplish in your day-to-day experiences will be markedly different from what you will find yourself trying to achieve if you see yourself as essentially a physical entity. And what you call success will be defined in remarkably divergent ways. So what is it that motivates you when you get up in the morning? Is it something that you're wanting to do, or something that you're wanting to be? I'm going to suggest to you here that the soul's purpose has to do primarily with what I call beingness, and secondarily with what I call doingness. Yet, when beingness precedes doingness, what we are being tends to produce success in both what we are being and what we're doing. And that's because we've discovered the soul's purpose.
Very important topic, our soul's purpose. And Neale Donald Walsh, Michael Bernard Beckwith created this masterclass, brand new this year, incredibly exciting. It's on the Humanity Stream platform. Just invite you to go check it out. If you go to humanitiesteam.org, here you can see on the screen /stream, you'll see Neale Donald Walsh, Michael Beckwith's masterclass on our soul's purpose, and many other, this science-based program that I was referencing just a bit earlier, where I was talking about Nassim Haramein. He and Greg Braden also very recently created this science-based masterclass called Forbidden Science, because today they cannot teach this science in the classroom. Very unfortunate. But they take you through, Greg and Nassim take you through this science that says we are absolutely a part of one thing. All of the universe is. It's a living and breathing, alive, loving, conscious universe. It's called Forbidden Science. And there are other science-based programs too, something called Technology, Consciousness, and Evolution. Also the Science of Self-Empowerment. Neale Donald Walsh has his own masterclass called Our Final Frontier. I have a program called Conscious Leadership, and both Neale's program and my program are based on the Conversations with God material. So, and for that matter, you can see as we're scanning the site here, all of these programs are aligned with this, with oneness, with unity consciousness, with what you might call the new spirituality, with conscious living. There are many ways to frame this. We use the term now in Humanities Team conscious living because one, it's actually referenced throughout the Conversations with God material, A Course in Miracles, and other sacred text. And two, it's just very approachable for people, even in the mainstream. This notion of conscious living is getting more and more attention, where people, as you know, out in today's world are saying, my God, isn't there more meaning and purpose? There has to be more than what I'm doing right now in this job that I have, in this relationship that I have. So this is what this whole, I invite you to come back and check it out. If you go to humanitiesteam.org, right there at the top, you can click and it'll take you over to Humanity Stream Plus. It is a revolutionary conscious streaming platform. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. So where prices generally go up, 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 ours go down, down, down. In fact, we announced a one-for-one program. So when you purchase a subscription, you gift a free subscription to an underserved, underprivileged individual who otherwise could never afford to use this platform. Even it's now at $3.99 a year, which is about the price of a single masterclass. Let me come back to Neale Donald Walsh, my guest here and partner for 2 decades, to this program, because we're on such an important topic where we talk about ourselves as spiritual beings. Boy, that's an important topic, is it not, Neale?
I think it's the one question that most people have never asked themselves at a serious level. Who am I? Am I simply a physical being? Am I simply a physical entity, like a bird in the sky or a fish in the sea? More complex perhaps, but basically a chemical creature. I'm born, I live, I die, and that's the beginning and the end of it? Or is it possible, just possible, that I'm more than that? That I'm a spiritual entity, that I have a body and I have a mind, but that this is not who I am. These are simply tools that who I am is using. But for what purpose? That becomes the question of every thinking person. Sooner or later, all of us wake up one morning, maybe when we're 7 years old or 17 or 77, but the day comes when all of us wake up one morning and say, as Steve mentioned a minute ago, why am I here? Really, truly, what is this all about? And then we discover, if we look deeply into the question, that we're not here to do anything in particular. We're not here to have a career, a particular career. God doesn't say, oh, you'll be first baseman for the New York Yankees, and you're going to play third chair violin for the Salzburg Philharmonic Orchestra. No, God is not concerned with our career. Our doingness, what we do in the world, arises out of what we have chosen to be. So that is an important question. Every morning we get to ask ourselves, am I a human doing or am I a human being? And if I choose to announce that I am a human being, then what am I choosing to be? Now, that's not a small decision, because what you are choosing to be sends a message. It becomes a model for all those around you. And if they admire what they see you being, they will begin to step into their own version, their own expression of that state of being as well. That is, if you're being kind and caring and compassionate and understanding, if you're being forgiving, if you're being conscious of the actions that you're taking and their impact on the world, if you are demonstrating that level of consciousness, those people around you will see the impact that's having, and they'll begin to model that behavior. So the question becomes, are the behaviors that you are exhibiting today the behaviors you would like to have everyone else model in their own life? That becomes the question. And the way you live your life today becomes your answer. Not a small thing. You think, well, what difference can it make? It can make all the difference in the world. As I said earlier, everyone on this planet who has impacted life in a positive way has done so in exactly the way I'm describing right here.
Yes, they have. Yes, they have. Boy, and we don't have to think too hard back to Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Moses and on, Mother Teresa. So let's get to a question here. This is Proshat, and Proshat says, much love and thank you. My question is, what are some of the practices or tactics to increase the force of love within, unconditional love within oneself?
I have two tools that I use. Number one, I ask myself, whenever anything occurs in my life of any significance or importance, I ask myself, what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? It's a powerful question that recontextualizes my experience. My answer to your question is, the tool that I use is a tool called Re-Contextualization, that I place my daily encounters with life into a brand new context. I see my daily events, how people are interacting with me, what they're saying, what I'm saying to them, what's in the envelope when I open the day's mail, what people are saying to me when I pick up the phone and I take another phone call. See, the common, ordinary, everyday events, I place them in a new context. Wait a minute. What does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? Now, of course, in order for you to answer that question, you would have to know what the agenda of your soul is. That's why we have created this extraordinary program of wonderful classes and courses for us to learn more about that, more and more and more and more about that. That's why we encourage you to move to Humanities Stream Plus. Look at the programs that are available there for us to become even more clear than we may now be not only about the purpose of our life, but how to implement that purpose in our day-to-day experience. So you have to know what the agenda of your soul is in order for you to have an answer to the question, wait a minute, what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? But that's my chief tool, and I use it 5 or 6 times a day. Things occur in my life. I do get that phone call. I do open that envelope. I do have that conversation with my neighbor across the street or with my wife across the kitchen. And there are times when I stop myself. Wait a minute. What does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? And when my response to the events of my life reflects the agenda of my soul, that's when I get into a place where I become a model, the kind of model that I'm talking about for everyone else. Now, I'm not suggesting that I am the perfect human being and that I do this all the time, but you ask me what is the tool that I use, and this is the tool that I use to get me on that path as often as I possibly can. Has it changed my life in the past few years beyond what it used to be when I was a younger man? Oh, my goodness. If I only understood when I was 35 or 45 what I understand now. But this is the opportunity for all of us to understand that and then to pass that understanding on to others by becoming part of this campaign to change humanity's future. Say yes, won't you? Say yes.
That's right. It is. It's all, and all of us need to say yes. It's a level playing field. We all do this together. This is to you, the viewer. This is your invitation, where we all do this together, where we live as one, an embodiment of love, where we, in our own station in life, with our own calling, and we'll each do it in a different way. For some of us, it's truth. Others, it's love. Others, it's service. There are myriad ways that we can express this. We'll each be called to our own station in life. Thank you, Neil, for bringing in the just education, the importance of education. That's just why the Humanities Stream Plus platform was created. Neil has over 70 programs on the platform, and there are over 20 new programs that have been brought into this conscious streaming platform this year alone, in 2022 alone. So let me get to, because we're down to just a couple of minutes, there are some suggestions here in the 9th Conversations with God book. It's called Conversations with God Book 4, Awaken the Species, where it talks then about where we say yes. What are we saying yes to? Neil, I'm going to read these. There are 3 suggestions. There are more than that in the book, but these are 3 of the big suggestions that are made, and then I'm going to come back over to you for your comment. So the first one is, it's important that you use intention. Intention is everything. It sets the energetic signature for events that follow. It must set the intention in everything you think, say, and do. This is a quote directly from Awaken the Species. The next one it says is, be clear about the purpose of your decision and accept the invitation to help awaken the species. Not to set yourself up as some sort of leader, but to humbly share you have been led by a deep guidance within. And now that there is another way of being human, a way that seeks to be more beneficial to yourself and others, you will never self-aggrandize. And then finally it says, the fastest way to awaken yourself is to awaken another.
Couldn't have put it any better, and I have nothing to add. I mean, it's exactly what I would share with you if I were using my own words, the words we've been given, the ideas, the messages that we've been given in the Conversations with God dialogue. So step into, if you feel inspired to do so, the living of those understandings and become a model for others to emulate. That's what I would invite you to do. Decide today, I'm going to become part of the movement to change humanity's future. And then stay with us. Stay close to Humanities Team. Stay close to what we're up to. And connect with us in whatever way you can so that we can do this together.
Yes, join us. This is our major new initiative, Changing Humanity's Future by Living Consciously. And if you go to humanitiesteam.org, also you'll soon see on cwg.org, you'll see information on this huge initiative that we're launching together. A major, major initiative, so stay tuned. thank you for being with us here during this program today. Neil, Donald Walsh, thanks so much for being with me. I greatly appreciate it. And viewers, boy, you brought yourself to this program. You know why you're here. Let's do this. A level playing field. We all have an important role to play. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Looking forward to being with you. Have a great rest of week and weekend, and we'll be with you next week. Take care. Love, peace, and blessings.
Bye for now.